At the end of the day, when you are a business person, entrepreneur, your focus should be that you're adding high quality value to someone else's life. That's it. It's not about making this cool feature or doing all of this cool stuff or making the money and all of that. That's gonna come. That's just there are principles in place in scripture that if you follow these principles, those principles can't break or shatter. They're woven into the universe. That's how God made it. So there's these principles, right? So if you're adding value to people's lives, there's going to be a benefit for you.
What's up? We back with the Digital Storytellers Academy YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for joining. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. It's your boy, Bakari Kamal, and I'm here with...
Yes, sir. This is Jewett Payne. Hope you guys are doing well today.
Let's go. So today we're going to be talking about a hot topic, as you can see by the title.
Yes.
We talk about how do we make money as creative entrepreneurs.
Oh, boy.
This is one of the best topics we could talk about because all of us as creative entrepreneurs, content creators, filmmakers, photographers, and just anybody with a creative business, we want to make money.
Yeah.
And so why don't we just kind of start there? Like, what are some of the challenges that you see with creative entrepreneurs being able to actually monetize their platforms and being able to make money in their businesses?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, man, I don't even know where to start. It's so much. It's so much. So the first thing, just like any other thing, is mindset. Mindset is the first thing. Even the word tells us to be transformed first by the renewing of our mind. So just sitting there for a second, us renewing our mind, because the way that a lot of us were raised, I don't know how you were raised, but the whole thing of the illustriousness of music and art and photography and dance and all of these different things and filmmaking and all of these things may not be taken as seriously as being a scientist or a doctor or working at a big corporate office or different things like that, you know? Yeah. So there's this whole issue of, oh, that's not going to monetize. That can't scale. You're not going to be able to do anything with that. And that's not true. That's not true at all. If anything, this world will be flipped upside down, look completely different if we did not see art. Art is everywhere. We're sitting in art. We are art, first off. This space, but you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Hold on,
but this space is art. Everything that's created has some artistic aspect to it. Yeah. So that's the first thing. So yes, you guys can scale and monetize, and we're going to talk about that today. But the thing, to answer your question, some things to overcome, I believe, is what you're asking.
Yeah, and what are some of the struggles, you know?
Some of the struggles, yeah. Okay, so some of the struggles with this is, man, just knowing your worth. Like, literally knowing what you are worth as an artist. Now, a lot of it is connected to a standard job that we may work, a 9 to 5. They kind of put the minimum wage thing out there, $15. Oh, you can go up to 18. Oh, you're at this level. Oh, you're at 20 now or whatever, and things like that. So sometimes when we're charging, or at least I know I was, you can tell your story afterwards, but I would kind of stay in the ballpark of that realm because that's what we were just used to, what we were familiar with as we were kind of just starting our business and everything. And then you start doing more research. Then you start realizing that something that you're doing is not just a job, but it's an actual technical skill. It's a skill that you've developed and built. And for that, there's a lot more, more you can monetize from that because it's something you actually put into practice and develop this skill. It's a specialty in that sense, So with that, I think kind of just overcoming those barriers of knowing like, man, what do I charge? What is profitable as it relates to this specific thing? And that kind of relates to, knowing your value and actually just doing the research as it relates to either what you're going to input and how much output it takes and what you're delivering as far as value itself. Yeah. All of those things kind of tie in together.
That's so good. I think, when it comes to challenges and struggles, it's so many, like you said, but one of them is just not necessarily doing the research. I think when you're a creative, you have a tendency to be in the craft, or you want to create the content, or you want to, make the film, or you want to do the illustrations, whatever it is that your thing is. And there's market research that we could easily do to say, okay, in this area of the world, this is what the average person is charging for this type of work. And I found that people wait a little while until they have trial by, error, until they get to the point where they actually do that market research and really see like, okay, this is what people are charging. Because that's an easy way for you to have a baseline of what you should start charging people. And a lot of us go in the game, we're like, okay, I'm going to start charging. I'll do $100 or $200 because I don't feel like I'm there yet, wherever there is at.
Right.
But when you look, there are some people who charge so much money and their work isn't even as good as yours.
Exactly.
Because they just know what to charge. They know how to have those conversations and navigate those spaces. And so I think starting off with the market research is very important because that's something that we could easily all do. And that's a pain point, I feel, for a lot of us creative folks. What are some ways that we can use our creative entrepreneur ventures to create different streams of revenue?
Yeah, that's good. So I love that, having multiple streams, not just one thing. So you can have one business and have multiple streams of revenue in that specific business. You just have to be creative, and not limit yourself. Just throw all the ideas out there, test them. And again, it goes back to the research, the testing. You have to actually have the tenacity to actually do that. You can't be lazy. You have to make sure you're actually putting in the work to see what works. But with that, there's different ways. The two main ways of creating something to sell are, you can either create a service or a product. Or there could be a hybrid of both, but a service and a product. Now, with that, if you're doing something in the creative field and you create some type of service of some point, it would be wise to try and create something where you can have multiple individuals that you're collectively offering that to at the same time. Because time is a limited resource that we have. So as much as you can optimize it, try to do that the best. So, for example, whenever I'm teaching a student music, I've used to do it to where, like, okay, I have a private student at this time, a private student at that time, and all of that. And I'm like, hey, I'm teaching the exact same concept multiple times over, and I could just do like a group setting and teach them all that same thing. And I optimized, I made more income in that short amount of time, as opposed to spreading my time out and teaching the same thing. So that's one way to do it. If you're on different platforms, let's talk about social media platforms. Talk about YouTube, for example. We know that YouTube offers monetization. So pay attention to what they expect you to have completed as it relates to how many viewers, how many subscribers, and all these different things, so that when I get to this point, I'm going to monetize. Have an end goal. When do I want to, maybe within this year, I want to be able to hit those goals. So with that, now you're pacing yourself and being very, very strategic and taking advantage of those opportunities. And then the second half was the products. So we talked about service a bit. Now talk about products. You can literally create, whether it's a book of some sort, whether it is some type of coaching community of some sort or whatever.
Merchandise.
Merchandise, T-shirts, hats, whatever your field, whatever your industry is, you can create products as well. And now under this business, under this umbrella, you have all of these different options and ways to monetize. So you don't want to limit yourself. When you come in, you may just have one thing because you're trying to learn the ins and outs of business. You're trying to figure out how to market. You're trying to figure out your brand, all these different things. But once you get that, start expanding. Don't be afraid to expand. Ask your individuals, even directly or indirectly, what's something I can support you in more? And then do you feel like there's something you can create as it relates to what you can offer? Go for it, No,
that's so good. And for me, I think every creative, because if you're a creative and you have gained enough skills to be in business, you're able to teach, right? You're able to tell other people at this point about how you do what you do. Now, some people they don't like teaching, right? But I think that it's a benefit in terms of building streams of revenue for every creative. And even if you're not a creative by nature, right? Let's say you're just somebody, you worked in corporate and you know how to do something. you can teach and coach somebody else on how to do what you've been doing for the last 15 years.
Education is never going anywhere. Education will always, every generation, education will always be there. So if you need to get into that specific field, you can totally do that.
And the thing I love about the education field is that there are so many ways to create revenue streams. So you can do one-on-one coaching at the highest level because that's going to require most of your time, right? But then you have the group coaching. Then you have digital courses where I can record videos and provide that. I can record one video and just do a webinar. You also have, like you said, ebooks, actual hard copy books. And there's just, the list goes on and on. Digital products basically is just key, you know, for creating multiple streams of revenue. You create that thing one time, you make money off of it multiple times. So I think for me, you know, when it comes to how do I make money as a creative, I think my focus is education and digital products.
Definitely.
And then you think about like even programming, right? There's so many young people who need to hear the things that we have to say, who need the skills, right? Who need to understand that, okay, maybe you might want to go to college, but if you don't go to college, here's some other ways you can tangibly make money off of the things that you do. And here's a skill you can add to your tool belt. So I think creating educational programming for the youth and, you know, working with nonprofits or partnering with them to pull off different classes and courses for people is also another great way to create a stream of revenue for yourself and for your business.
That's good. I want to add to that point there, going back to the scriptures. You see Jesus when he came with his disciples. You know, he has disciples 3 years, right? They're following him. He actually sent them out by twos to actually go and start practicing and implementing everything he's been teaching. Then after that, he commissioned them to go and fulfill the Great Commission, go and tell the whole world about me, everywhere, let everyone know about me, right? So with that, there was this whole thing of equipping and training and actually the experience of it. That's something that, you know, traditional schooling isn't going to be able to fully supplement. You can learn everything from the books all day long, be in the high school, the college classes, all of those different things. But until you actually go out there and actually practice it, you really learn nothing. You got to actually put it into practice. But with it, all of the education, now you have it, but you have to use it. You have to use it. So that goes back to how you're saying, if you have learned anything at all, you have the capacity to teach.
Absolutely.
You literally have the capacity to teach. If you know something, oh, this person teaches it better. They don't teach it like you, though. Because you have your own experience. And that's just going to inevitably come out and tie in with it. Someone may relate to you just because of how you speak. Or culturally, they may want to relate to you better. Or all these different things. So you have everything you need just from your experiences. And now you just need to find creative ways to monetize from it.
Absolutely. What would you say to the creative entrepreneur that they're like, it's kind of a side hustle for them, or they're working a full-time job and they do their creative thing and they make a little money, but they want to now transition into doing it full-time. They want to make sure that this is a viable way for them to actually create, you know, a livelihood for themselves. What would you say to that person, and how do they go about making that transition?
Yeah, man, such a great question. Yeah, this can kind of go two ways. This can go two ways because there are individuals who may want to play this a little bit more safe, which makes sense, especially if you have family, wife, kids. You want to be able to support and take care of those responsibilities that you have. And there may be individuals who may go a little bit more risky route, for lack of a better word. So two different options here. So oftentimes you may want to, before you pivot out of a job, especially if you have those who are dependents on you, be able to see that you have enough saved or that your other business is equating more. Typically, individuals may say double what you are currently making at the job that you're planning to shift from. Now, to get to that place, you will have to do a lot of moonlighting. You will have to, okay, I work from this time frame from 9 to 5, family time, but you have to have a couple of hours if you can to be able to pour into your business. And it has to be dedicated time. It can't be, I'm kind of getting to it, I'll skip today, I'm gonna watch YouTube, I'm gonna watch, you know, this and that and the other, unless it's for educational purposes. But even with that, be careful not to just educate, you gotta implement. So you want to have dedicated time to build this thing.
Yeah.
And I say dedicated because we will put, the thing that frustrates me. The thing that frustrates me is that we will honor the job we work at to the T. We make sure we clock in on time, clock out on time. But then when it comes to God calling us to do something, He specifically called you to do something, you'll put that thing on the back burner and not honor yourself and not honor your time and say, I'll get to it. But for somebody else, I'll make sure I'm there. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. That's fine. You're supposed to honor other people in their businesses. But make sure, I'm putting this phone on focus mode. No one called me. I'm locking the door. And I'm locking in to create something that's going to build wealth for my family and whatever God's calling me to do, whether it's ministry, business, whatever the case. So that's that. So you can do that. In our situation, it wasn't as glamorous or perfect as that. I really just felt this deep tugging, this calling. God was like, it is time for you to step out. You have been slow dragging. You've been trying to play it safe. You've been just stuck here in this space. To the point where the job where I was working, my old manager told me, they knew I was an entrepreneur. So when we had meetings, they didn't say, where do you see yourself in the business in 5 years? Our meetings would literally say, hey, Drew, how your business is going? Because they knew. And then they literally told me about this book called, I think it's called The Big Leap. I don't know if you heard of that book. And on the front cover, it shows like a fish kind of like jumping out of the bowl. Yeah. That book was insane. And she literally said, all right, now I feel led to give you this to read, but when you read this, don't give me your 2-week notice, because she knew I was going to be like, And sure enough, a few months later, I transitioned because it was just such a tugging. I'm at work and I'm like feeling, man, I need to pivot and just go out in faith and go and just fully do my businesses. And I knew it was the Lord because I was saying, I'm going to wait until the end of the year. I'm just going to start January 1st. That's a fresh start, whatever and stuff. And I started feeling convicted. In like August and September, I will be there like, oh, Lord is really telling me, I'm telling you to do this now. So 2022, I believe, it was 2021 or 2022. 2022. That's when I made the shift in September, and never looking back. It's like, and God's just showing this bad boy scaling and growing, and it's just been absolutely amazing. And my wife and I, if you have family, you have to make sure you and your wife are on the same page. You can't just come home, hey babe, I quit my job today. Like, that's not how it works. We were in prayer, we were writing things out, we had conversations, all of this, and then we were like, all right, it's time. She's like, I'm ready. You ready? Yes. Went for it. And it's just a lot of like, okay, it forces your mind to really think, okay, how are we going to do this? It actually, I feel, builds that muscle. It makes your brain like, now I'm not just like on a cruise control. I have to actually think of creative ways to keep this going. And God has just been blessing us. And just here we are. 2025, still alive, still healthy.
Let's go.
Growing. And it's like, look at God, so just to encourage anyone who's thinking of making that step,
Hey, thanks for watching the video. But really quick, are you looking to level up your creative skills and build a thriving creative business?
If so, you want to join the 5-day Media Mastery Bootcamp. This is an intensive training that's going to help you master filmmaking and photography, editing and storytelling, and branding and content strategy.
We're not just going to teach you the bare minimum basics. We're going to give you real world skills and strategies that are going to help you stand out in the marketplace.
So if you're ready, make sure you enroll today. Space is limited and you don't want to miss this. The link is in the description below. Now, back to the video.
Going from side hustle to full-time definitely takes a huge mindset shift, and it definitely requires a lot of discipline. I know for me, when I went and quit my job, I was going through a period of time where I was definitely stressed out. I'm transitioning out of the military, first-time parent, just in the corporate environment, didn't feel psychologically safe, and I was like, I gotta quit. Like, I can't keep doing this. I wasn't able to show up the best way for my family when I was coming home. I'm like, even if I do stay here, it's hurting the way I show up in my home. So I'm like, yeah, babe, I gotta go. And she was like, what? And even to this day, she's like, you kind of made that decision on your own. And I'm like, I don't know, babe, I'm sorry. Like, I'll make sure I'll consult you. Like, but it was just one of those like life critical moments where I had to make a change. But when I got out, I was like, it's time for me to focus on my business now. And I had so many months where there was times where I didn't know what to do, or I would just be playing video games, and I'm like, I don't know how to have the structure necessary.
That's it.
Right. And so I think, to your point, like honoring your own self, honoring your own calendar, having that high level of discipline so that you can start to take the critical steps that are necessary to make it a full-time thing is essential. And getting yourself in community with other people who are making money off of creative ventures. That's a great way to make money as a creative entrepreneur, because now you're like sharing ideas and sharing strategies and leveraging each other's networks. Because relationships are key. So that's one of the best ways to make money as a creative entrepreneur, is just building your network, going out to networking events. I know for me, I told you yesterday, like I'm a homebody, but I have to go out and network and communicate with people and tell them about what I do in order for me to really be successful as an entrepreneur and make money and monetize it.
On that topic of how you were feeling and how your transition wasn't, I guess, in the natural, the way that we would want things to be, peaches and cream and whatnot.
Yeah, man.
With that, you see that, you often kind of see that a lot in scripture. There are a lot of times God called folks to the craziest places.
Yes, sir.
I mean, he literally told Abraham, he said, he just came out of nowhere, Abram at the time, I'm going to need you to get up and leave your whole family.
Go over somewhere.
And where am I going? I ain't telling you where you're going. Just follow me. We just gonna go. So it's like, oh my goodness. So let's think, like, what do you think Sarai at the time? What do you think Sarai was thinking? As it related to Abraham.
Yeah.
That could have been a crazy conversation. Think about Peter. He was married.
Yeah.
So Peter was married, and you're like, okay. Jesus says, "Get out the boat, come follow me." Peter comes and follows him and whatnot. So that has this affecting. Him and his wife's relationship and everything. Obviously, you follow in the Lord's going to bless it, whatnot. But in the natural, we could be thinking, okay, what is happening? So sometimes it's not going to be perfect, but you can see the fruit of the transition, and you're stepping out in faith.
Yeah.
You're stepping out in faith. God is going to cover you when you step out in faith. Yeah. It's like you stepping out, oh man, I'm throwing a temper tantrum. I don't want to do it. I don't respect this person. I cuss this person out and I quit this job. None of that stuff is literally like, God, I feel like there's a higher something. I don't have all the pieces together. It's like on this journey, you're going to connect the pieces. But I'm feeling called to do X, Y, and Z. And I feel like you're going to lead this, and you see the fruit of that. You see the fruit of that and everything. So
that's so good.
God just blesses it,
So last one, how do you go from doing like smaller projects and, really moving in that space to really starting to sell high ticket products and services and getting to the place as a creative where you're like, yeah, this is my $10,000 product, service, coaching program, whatever it is.
Yeah.
How do you really get to that place as a creative entrepreneur?
Yeah. I think it goes back to what you were saying as far as relationship building.
Yeah.
And the whole aspect. You definitely want to, it's a thing of building a relationship, but also showing individuals what you can do for them. Because at the end of the day, when you are a business person, entrepreneur, your focus should be that you're adding high quality value to someone else's life. That's it. It's not about making this cool feature or doing all this cool stuff or making the money and all of that. That's going to come. That's just, there are principles in place in scripture that if you follow these principles, those principles can't break or shatter. They're woven into the universe. That's how God made it. So there's these principles, right? So if you're adding value to people's lives, there's going to be a benefit for you. That's just that. So now let's start with the fact of adding value. So you're doing the research, which we talked about at the beginning of this. You're providing something that adds value. They're going to want more because, yes, you are changing. You're transforming my life. Thank you. Awesome. I have this other thing as well that can take you to the next level. Everybody always wants to level up. Or people are serious, want to level up, right?
Yes.
So if they want to level up and you have something else, if you've already shown them that you can add value, that's what's going to happen. So let's get practical. YouTube. Sorry, YouTube. Right now, everyone on here, this is going to happen. You guys are going to open a YouTube account if you have not already. If you have, comment below, I got one. I got one, okay? And if you have not yet, say, I'm about to. Or once you do it, put I got one, okay? So you open a YouTube account. How much does that cost? Free 99. So you get you a Google account, go ahead and set up that YouTube. Boom. You are setting yourself up to monetize and reach people, okay? Now start giving them free value. Start giving them that free value. Start anything from your experiences in your specific niche or field. Post those videos, okay? Now you have your following on YouTube. Okay, we start there. Now from there, they know they can trust you, build that relationship, and you have something to offer them.
Yeah.
They're going to opt in. And then from there, they want to keep going up and they want to stay connected. And that's how you kind of start building to that, next offer and everything. And the whole thing is, it just goes back to value. I have to keep saying that.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to feel like, oh, I'm some type of slimy salesperson, something. That's not what's happening unless you're saying that you're going to do something that you're not going to execute on.
Right.
But if you're doing something that's they paid this much, but the result is allowing them to get paid this much, or the result is for them to get this next thing they were trying to get to, they're going to opt in. So you don't have to concern yourself with that.
That's so good. And I think a lot of times we get caught in our minds as creative entrepreneurs, like, oh, I have to get so much better, or I have to have so much more to offer, so much more equipment, so many more pieces to my offer in order for me to charge high ticket. And the reality is, if you're doing for example, we're in video. If I'm doing a video for organization and it's a smaller organization, well, I may be at one price point. But if I'm working with a corporation and I do the same type of video for that corporation, but that video helps them make multi-millions of dollars because they have ad dollars to put behind it, then I can charge high ticket for that because there's value that's associated with it.
That's it.
That same value might not be associated with a small mom and pop shop, right? So I think it's just understanding, what client am I going for as well? And, your low ticket or your, kind of entry price point services are not going to be offered to your high ticket clients. So you have to kind of begin to be okay with leaving these lower ticket clients or, cultivating them here and there, right? But looking into the atmosphere of, all right, I got to get some new clients. And a lot of times you can attract new clients with marketing and with the way that your website looks and with the type of marketing material you do, and also through your relationships and your networking. So I think that transition really comes with just understanding your value and then being able to attract those type of clients to you by, understanding your own value.
That's so good. One last little thing here. So right now we have, updated iPhone here. But back then, let's say 2020, using an iPhone 7 or 8 Plus, I believe it was. Okay.
Wow.
That's what we had. And we had the little phone gimbal. Boom. Just like that. And that's how we were shooting our videos in the starting days. We just had our cell phone and that gimbal and got started. We're doing videos for the mayor. They were running for the mayor of where we live was running, did all of his campaign videos.
Wow.
They ended up winning and then continued to hire us on to continue to do those videos and everything like that. There were a few corporations and industries who were hitting us up to do videos and stuff. Same thing, and that's all we had. And I remember it was one event though, we felt like this imposter syndrome because someone was there from like a TV company. They had like the whole nine and stuff, but we had to stay focused. Like, no, they literally hired us to do X, Y, and Z, and at the end we're editing these videos and giving them excellence. It doesn't matter which type of thing we're using. Now, as you get better, you want the quality and all this stuff to look better and all of that, more professional and whatnot. But for what we were doing, it was perfectly fine. So all of that's to say, just start.
Yeah.
Just start. Like, there's no excuses. Like, you have to start to get to where you want to be.
Yes, indeed.
You're not just going to be like, oh, I'm where I want to be. Everything has to start. So just start where you're at.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, guys, that's all we have for this episode. We appreciate you spending time with us. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe, comment below. Let us know what you're going to implement so you can start making money, monetizing as a creative entrepreneur. And we will see you all on the next one.
Yes, sir. See you guys later. Bye.